Hello there YouTube, and welcome along to Coronavirus Update episode 4. So coming up, I'm going to be talking about clap for carers. I'm going to be talking about that, and a possible exit strategy is another thing that I'm going to be talking about once again this week. Obviously last week I spoke a little bit about it, but I want to speak about it a little bit more in this week's video. So I want to start with clap for carers. I want to start with that first. Because honestly, it is ridiculous. So, if you're not outside clapping for carers, which is fair enough, it is your choice, your decision, what you want to do, then you might have seen videos online, or you might have seen some TV news stories on the TV about people clapping for carers. Obviously, they have some areas where you see people clapping outside their homes, on their doorstep, or on their balconies, etc, etc, which is technically the rules. This is technically what you've got to do, you know, in order to maintain social distancing and stuff like that, is you've got to clap for the carers, whether it's outside on your front door, your back garden, or even on the balcony, or even just outside your window. Just, you know, give them a quick clap. So there's that. Anyway, obviously the NHS workers are weirdly going outside of the hospitals to clap for themselves, which I find is a bit bizarre. I mean, I'm surprised that really they would be. I mean, I guess in a way they're clapping for the other members of staff anyway. But I mean, on top of that, they're also looking at, because in some cases the NHS hospitals here in the UK are sometimes they can be found outside. Yeah, outside people's homes. I know that there's one area here in Dorset, which is Poole. So where Poole Hospital is, on the opposite side of the road from Poole Hospital is a row of houses, and obviously they must be coming out and giving them a round of applause as well. I've seen videos of this anyway, and yeah, so there's that. Anyway, now the problem we have here is, if you've seen on TV that the NHS staff there clapping away, then you may have noticed they're not socially distancing. You know, this is the thing. You know, we're doing our bits, so why can't you do your... I mean, I know you're in the same workplace. I know there's still a chance that you could still catch it. But seriously, social distance. You know, keep apart. Keep further apart. I don't understand how hard that is, you know. And I've got to say something else as well. And this really shocked me on Friday morning when I woke up last week. On Friday morning when I woke up last week and saw this on my social media timeline. In fact, let me show you it while I talk over it, because literally this is shocking. This is absolutely shocking. So lockdown rules apply, yeah. Lockdown rules apply, yeah. But look at this, seriously. Yeah, this is Westminster Bridge over in London, and yet London is one of the areas in this country where a lot of the deaths are happening, you know, where a lot of people are actually getting this virus, you know, and it's because of that reason right there. That video right there is the reason why a lot of people are getting the virus, because again, they're people who are mass gathering on Westminster Bridge, just like that, last Thursday at 8 p.m. At 8 p.m. last Thursday, they'd done that, and apparently at 8 p.m. on a Thursday, lockdown rules don't apply. You know, social distancing doesn't apply on a Thursday at 8 p.m. for 1 minute. You know, and that is just. I mean, when I look back, and what's even worse about that video that I just showed you guys right there, what's even worse about that is there was police on Westminster Bridge, and did they disperse those crowds of people that were on Westminster Bridge? No, they didn't. They carried on clapping for the NHS. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, the NHS are working hard, you know, to keep people alive, to help survivors get through this, and you know, and I do applaud them myself, you know, for all the hard work that they do, But I mean, this clap for carers every Thursday, does it really, I mean literally, this clap for carers thing should have only happened for 1 week and 1 week only. Why is it now that we seem to be clapping for NHS stuff every single Thursday for 1 minute? I do not understand this. You know, I know it's positive. I know that, you know, the NHS probably need that positivity in their lives right now. But I mean, okay, initially the first week we done it, I understood why we were doing it, because we were just saying thank you to the NHS for all the hard work that they're doing. But now we seem to be doing that every 7 days at 8 PM. And then it's going to be the case of, when does that clap for carers thing kind of stop? When does that end? You know, do we do that from now on every Thursday? Or even after lockdown is over? Even after the coronavirus is finished? Do we still go out and do that? You know? Honestly, I don't see the point anymore. So, I mean, there's that, you know, that is just frustrated. Because, literally, people are at home. People are saving lives, you know? And the rules are, if you are going to clap for carers, right, you do it at your front door, you do it at your window, you do it outside on your balcony, or you do it in your back garden, somewhere where you are at your home, you know, where you live. You don't go to Westminster Bridge, you don't go to any of the iconic places, such as in London, for example, to go and clap for the NHS. I don't understand why people would do that, you know? Really, I don't. So, you know, and what's even worse is, at some point in that video, which you guys saw there earlier, there was even a guy standing there holding a baby, clapping for carers. What's that all about? Literally, what is that all about? I mean, honestly, it's just really, really frustrating that, you know, there are people out there who are doing as they're told. There are people out there who are saving lives, protecting the NHS and staying at home. Which, by the way, with you guys doing that, if you are doing that, I applaud you for doing it, you know? And if you are going outside and clapping for carers, you're doing it at your front door, your window, or your balcony, or your back garden. You know, you're doing it somewhere where you're at home, where you're safe, you know? And again, I applaud for you guys who are doing that, you know? But, I mean, literally, that video right there was just absolutely shocking when I saw that on my social media page on Friday morning when I woke up. You know, because I thought to myself, this isn't right. This is not right at all. And the fact that the police were there as well, and they weren't dispersing the crowds, what is that all about? Seriously, you know? But, there we go. So, there we are, that's my thoughts on the whole clap for carers thing with the NHS. Now, I'm going to show you something actually, which I was shown myself by a friend of mine on social media the other day, because he has basically, I'm going to talk a little bit about the possible exit strategies, because obviously this is the thing is, and I think I did mention this last week in the video that I done last week, but Boris Johnson obviously put this lockdown in place, and by the way, just let you know that we are now in lockdown for a further 3 weeks, and the next review, I believe, will be on May 7th, is when the next review will be. To be honest with you, I'm not going to lie, you know, I do think that even after 3 weeks' time, if the death rate goes down, if the hospital beds start to reduce in terms of people using them and stuff, I reckon lockdown will go on even further than, you know, than the next 3 weeks. I reckon it will probably go on for a further 3 weeks if the death rate does go down and the hospital beds being used are going down as well. I reckon just so that the government can make sure that things are finally starting to turn over, or the leaf is starting to turn on this situation, they will want to put a further 3-week lockdown in place just to confirm and make sure that we're not going to get a second wave or anything like that. So, which would be good, I think. If that was the case, I mean, this is my opinion, of course. But anyway, one of my friends on social media earlier this week sent me a message, and this is a photo, which I'm not going to show you guys. I'm just going to read it to you because it's just text, really. But what they've done is there's one possible exit strategy that the government could use in order to obviously lift the lockdown, and it's sort of done in sort of a traffic light system. So I'm going to start with mid-May, which is in red. So mid-May, schools will open in some capacity, non-essential shops will reopen with distancing regulations, manufacturing and construction work will restart, some relaxing of excuses to be outside regulations, and people encouraged to wear masks on public transport. Now, before I just go any further, I'm just going to say that BuzzFeed and others are reporting on this exit strategy being devised by government science bods SAGE. This obviously isn't the final version, but it does give an idea of how it could happen, and some social distancing measures will remain until a vaccine is eventually found for the virus. So obviously that was the mid-May scenario, which is in red. Let's just take a look at what's in amber. This is now late May - early June. So schools open in time for term 6 with distancing measures. More businesses will reopen. Most people will return back to work. And then later in the summer, so we're talking around about July, August time. Later in the summer, cinemas, gyms, pubs and restaurants will reopen, and all reopenings to abide by social distancing rules. Again, like I say, this is one possible exit strategy. It's not confirmed or anything like that. So there we go. And let's just take a look at 2021, because it does go further into 2021. This is now the green section of this traffic light system that they use here, because 2021, at some point, a vaccine for the virus is eventually found. And then, of course, life can return back to normal, and then it'll be the end of social distancing rules. So that's hopefully going to be a good thing when social distancing does come to an end eventually, because obviously we would want life to return back to normal. Of course, we would want to be able to hug people or shake hands with people without having the fear that they've got some deadly virus, or they're carrying some deadly virus and stuff. So there we go. So that is the possible exit strategy right there, and that's from what BuzzFeed and others are reporting, of course. So that's just one possible exit strategy. I will tell you this though, earlier this week, on the eve before schools would have reopened after the Easter break, the Education Secretary did reveal that he can't say when there will be an exact date as to when schools will reopen here in the UK. He can't give parents an exact date, unfortunately, as to when schools will reopen. But he has thanked those parents who have taken the decision to homeschool their kids, obviously while the lockdown is in place, and of course while schools are closed as well, which is good. So, and obviously as well, the other good thing is about this is that there are celebrities online who are doing online sessions. I do believe that David Attenborough is now going to be starting to do geography lessons for kids, which is good. Joe Wicks, of course, as you may have already knew, he does PE workouts on his YouTube channel. You know, so there are various things that are out there for parents who, you know, who kind of want their kids to do all these different subjects and learning activities and stuff like that. There are stuff out there online, you've just got to find out. And like I say, and they are being presented by famous faces. And I think as well, that's the other good thing, is these famous faces obviously don't really have a lot that they can do. And so they are taking an hour of their day out to do videos so that it can be uploaded online, and obviously parents can use that for their kids, obviously for when they want to do, I don't know, maths for example, or PE or history or geography, etc, etc, with their kids, which is absolutely amazing. So it's really nice and thoughtful that the celebrities have got in on this as well, and that they are there helping the parents who are struggling with their kids being at home and stuff. So there we go. So that's also another thing as well, which is really good about this as well. So there we go, and that's another thing. So that's a couple of things that I've covered so far. I'm going to cover another thing as well, 2 more things that I want to cover in this week's video. The first thing is Michael Gove. He has actually confirmed, I think this was within the last weekend or so, he has confirmed that pubs will be the last thing that will reopen. Given that, that's not surprising because of the fact that they are social venues. People do go there to socialise, but even then, when pubs do decide to reopen eventually, you know, whether it is later this summer or whether it is, I don't know, sort of September, October time this year, you know, or going towards the end of this year, they do decide to reopen again. You know, I do think to myself that you know, they will still be abiding by social distancing rules. You know, like I said earlier, the social distancing, it will probably still be with us even going into next year, 2021, at the time being. So, you know, it's just a case of when they decide to reopen, when they start to bring back the business again, and obviously they will, like I say, they will be keeping the social distancing in place within time as well. So there we go. So there is that as well, and I think it will be the same with the restaurants as well. I don't know if whether or not pubs and restaurants will reopen at the same time, whether they will be, both the things will be the last thing to reopen, given that, again, restaurants are social venues. They are there, obviously, not just for us to go out and enjoy a meal, but obviously to socialise with our friends, with our family, and of course with our partners as well. So whether or not restaurants will follow with the pubs as well and be the last thing to open is yet to be seen. But I did see within this last week, though, that there was a report saying about coffee shops, restaurants and estate agents being the first thing to reopen, which really did shock me when I read that, because coffee shops and restaurants, I mean, I've already given you the reason about restaurants being the last to reopen, but coffee shops in the same sort of capacity is the same thing, really. Yeah, people go there to get a drink when they're at work, when they're in an office and stuff. They go there to have a break, have a coffee, like Costa, for example, and stuff. Yeah, they do that. But I mean, at the same time, it's not just there because obviously you're there to enjoy their coffee that they give you, but you're also there to socialise with your friends, your family, and of course your partners and stuff like that. It really does shock me that that coffee shops would again be the other thing that would be the first to reopen. Estate agents, I'm not too sure on whether or not that should be the first thing to reopen or not, if it was to reopen, given the fact that not a lot of people have got enough money at the moment to buy houses or rent houses or, you know, or sell houses or anything. Well, they might have enough money to sell their house, you know, but obviously then that would mean that they'd have to then find another house to move into, etc. But I mean, yeah, again, I'm not too sure about the whole estate agents reopening or not. I don't know about that really. So there we go. So that's just my thoughts anyway on the whole exit strategy, and of course pubs being the last thing to reopen and stuff. So yeah, anyway, there's one final thing that I do want to talk to you today in this video, and that's about the government are being put under fire, basically, because there's been some tabloid reactions over the last few days now, talking about Boris Johnson and the fact that he ignored, and I do mean ignored, the meetings. Like, he decided to skip them, literally. You know, there are countries out there, before the UK even got given the coronavirus, you know, before the coronavirus decided to hit the UK and other parts of the world, there were other parts of the world where they were suffering, you know, where they were in, at the time recording this, in our shoes right now, you know. And to be honest, I'm very surprised that the government decided to delay meetings and all of that. If this is true, by the way, that they decide to delay all these meetings and all of that, you know, I'm really surprised about that, because of the fact that, you know, well, no, I think it was just because of the fact that, you know, they should have just looked to see other countries and look at how they're suffering. And then they could have thought, well, I don't want to be in that position, you know. Boris Johnson could have just turned around and gone, as Prime Minister, do I want to be in that country's position? No, I don't, you know. So what he should have done, and I'm pretty certain I have said this before in a video that I probably did last week, you know, they should have closed off borders to the UK. They should have closed off the access so that people couldn't come in or out of the UK. You know, they should have done that a lot sooner than what they did. You know, this is genuinely how I feel. This is genuinely how opinionated I am being on this, you know. But this, just my thoughts is, you know, why would you do this? Like, why would you still let people come into the country, bearing in mind there are other countries out there who had the virus before we did? You know, this is what I don't understand, you know. I mean, literally, sometimes I do think to myself, does the government actually have any sense at all? Do they have any common sense whatsoever? You know, literally, because and it wouldn't just be me, it would probably be other people who do watch this video. They would probably agree with me that if they were Prime Minister of this country, or if they were part of the government in this country, they would have done things a whole lot differently. They would have handled the coronavirus situation a whole lot differently than what the government have done, you know, before we entered lockdown, or before how Boris Johnson handled it before we went into lockdown as well. You know, I'm sure you guys would agree that you would have put the UK on lockdown way before March, you know, because that's what I would have done. Really, that is what I would have done. You know, and the fact that, you know, it took up until when it did, when the virus actually eventually hit the country, that you then go, I'm going to close the country down. You know, like literally, wouldn't you have wanted people to still go out and enjoy themselves, go to venues and stuff, without having the fear of people passing on a deadly virus because they came into the country with that virus? Wouldn't you want that? I'm pretty certain you would. Yeah, because I do think to myself, had we have reacted to it a lot sooner than what we did, then the lockdown rules would have maybe, potentially, been a little bit more lighter in terms of, you know, we would have been able to go outside and do more things rather than being able to go outside just once a day, for example. You know, and there's stuff like that, really. You know, there is stuff like that which does make me think, you know, what would have happened had we have shut the UK down a lot sooner? You know, would we have still been able to have certain social venues open, but of course would still have to just keep our distances from each other just in case, you know, for safety reasons? You know, we would have been a lot better off if we had done something a lot sooner, in my opinion, to be honest with you. And, you know, I'm pretty certain that, like I say, a lot of people watching this right now would probably agree with me on that matter as well. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is, and I'm sure that, you know, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think I guess in a way, if Boris Johnson did skip these meetings, like what the tabloids have been saying within the last few days, if he did escape those meetings and stuff, or skip them and not really worry too much about it, well, it's fine, because in theory he had his karma. He got the virus, you know. Yeah, okay, he survived it, which, you know, in a way a lot of people might be very thankful for the fact that he had survived it and stuff, you know, so that he can continue to now run the country and hopefully get us out of this mess when he does eventually return back to work. But at the same time, you know, it kind of has fallen back on him, because I bet now that he's had that virus, and if he did skip those meetings, then I'm pretty certain by now he would be regretting what he'd done in the past and how he could have changed it so that half of the people who have already died from this virus, you know, would have still been alive today, pretty much, you know. So, you know, there are things that he could have done differently, in my opinion, that could have saved a lot more lives than what have already been tragically lost, unfortunately, to say, you know. But it is what it is, so there we go. Anyway, there we are. So that's my thoughts and views on this week's news stories in terms of the coronavirus. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did agree with me on some of the comments that I have made in this video, then just comment below if you want and give your views and opinions. You know, allow yourself to have a voice in the situation, you know, and don't go unheard of, I guess, you know. Anyway, so if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button, it's just down below, and if you're not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, well, I've got plenty more content coming up on my YouTube channel over the next few weeks, that's for sure. So please stay subscribed, and if you want to receive notifications in terms of when I upload new videos to my channel, then just hit the bell button, and as soon as I upload my next YouTube video, it will be there in your inbox, or obviously on your notifications on your smartphone and tablet. Well, anyway, that is all from me, and I will be back for you on Friday the 24th of April 2020 with another episode in the Steve's Let's Talk series. In that one, I will be talking about the brand new, recently unveiled and recently recently announced iPhone SE 2020, which coincidentally will be released on Friday the 24th of April, so the same day that I release that video. Coincidence. Anyway, so that's all from me. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay at home, save lives and protect the NHS, and I'll be back with you on Friday the 24th of April with my next YouTube video.
The government will stand behind businesses, small and large. I can announce today an unprecedented package of government-backed and guaranteed loans to support business to get through this. Today, I am making available an initial £330 billion of guarantees, equivalent to 15% of our GDP. That means any business who needs access to cash to pay their rent, their salaries, suppliers, or purchase stock will be able to access a government-backed loan or credit on attractive terms. And if demand is greater than the initial £330 billion I'm making available today, I will go further and provide as much capacity as required. I said whatever it takes, and I meant it. We can't protect every business and every household.